Hey everyone, welcome back Mogul Live this week. Very excited to bring you David Lipper. He's our guest here today. Very talented writer, director, actor. We really want to dive deep into talking to about Reboot Camp, and anyone out there who hasn't seen this film, I really recommend. It's very funny, a lot of memorable faces in there. Great to see Tim, David. I can't keep up with all you guys. Chris, good to see you here. I can see David's come in the chat as well, so we'll get him here in about 30 seconds time. Hey David, good to see you. I'm just going to give you a lovely 30-second preamble before I bring you in. But basically, David Lipper, you would have seen, I'll quickly touch and we'll talk to him very briefly about his projects. He's just finished directing Wolf Mountain with Danny Trejo. Deathlink, Adam Garcia, that's another one that he's finished directing. But as an actor, going back all the way to Full House, you would have seen playing Viper. Frequency TV show. There's about 66 film and TV credits that you'd really put as David as very up there with the best. So, and I might actually just quickly show you a quick asset as well, guys, just for anyone who's wants to know a little bit about what we'll talk about. Reboot Camp. This is a very funny film, and also a partnership that Mogul has just announced in relation to some NFTs starting on the 16th of September. So we're really excited to talk about the partnership between Reboot Camp, the film, the team there, and of course David, and also what we've got going on. I'll show you just quickly as well. Why don't I just quickly throw in Just Wipe. That's another David's films coming out you would have seen. We actually spoke to Elizabeth about this, the director, about 3 weeks ago, which is great to see. And just another asset, quickly throwing this one up. This is a quick still from behind the scenes from Reboot Camp. I really excited to talk, and again with all the Mogul Lives, you guys, we can talk about anything you like, what it was like shooting, best day on set, of course Reboot Camp, Nicole Aniston, Jessica Belkin, Evo, the director, he'll be coming on soon as well. So there's a lot to get through, but as always, you can ask anything you like, go through David's career, but we'll be sticking to probably Reboot Camp a little bit. So with that, let's see if we can connect David into the chat. See how our technology's holding up as always. See if we can get David in. Again, good to see you, Tara, Mitch, Jacob, David. Hey, David. Great to have you.
Good to be here, James. Great to see you.
You know what I was just realizing? I was realizing the last time we spoke on Mogul Live and I actually had you here, I think it's almost like a 1-year reunion.
I think so. It's
Kinda
something like that. Yeah.
Similar timing. I'd love to just ask, I mean, how's your week going? What are you currently working on as of right now?
Just a few things, James. Let's see. I am in prep for a movie called My Favorite Girlfriend. We'll have a major announcement about it soon. So I can't tell too much to you about it yet, other than we're going to start shooting on the 19th. And of course, that's happening right as this big giant Reboot Camp NFT drop is going live, culminating in a live event, red carpet, an outdoor screening, which is COVID friendly, at the famous Cine Lounge Theater, which is in back of the famous Egyptian Theater on Hollywood and Las Palmas. So that's happening on the 21st of September. All the celebs in the cast will be there, certainly most of them, along with many other celebrities who are going to join us. And we're super excited to kind of pioneer the first deleted scene NFT play on a film. And, you know, it's just one of those things. I've been educating myself into this whole world. Evo has been, the writer-director of Reboot Camp, has been educating himself to this world. And our executive producer, Tim Alec Mully, who also has a production company called Touring Cathedral, is obviously in the NFT and crypto world and has done very well in that world. So we're in this, you know, we're aware, we're in it. And then it just kind of hit me, well, wait a sec, you know, we're selling artwork, we're selling images. Why not a clip and a one-of-a-kind deleted scene of Ja Rule or David Koechner? You know, I mean, there's so many great memes out there of David Koechner from like The Office and Anchorman.
I was gonna say, I think he's just one episode into the Office, and his character on that show was
he's hysterical.
You
And
just
he's really like a genius when it comes to this format, the mockumentary format, which is what this film is. And so, like, to have a Keckner one of a kind going, I'm going to burn this shit down. Like, that's what we're kind of selling here with these deleted clips, you know, or Jarul saying it's Jarul's guru's rules. Like, he comes up with his own guru sayings. So I think people are really going to jive on these deleted scene clips. And we've got everything from, like I said, the comedy side with Jarul and Keckner to then the sexy side with adult film star Nicole Aniston, who, when you see the film Reboot Camp, you'll see there's a whole thing where we sculpt something in the image of her vagina. And that vagina is up for auction, signed by Nicole Aniston. And then the auction winner will, of course, get to come to the live event and meet her and take a photograph with her, like all the other people who have NFTs in this campaign, like Jessica Belkin. Yeah.
And I think the thing here too, for anyone that's just joined us, I've just noticed we've got a very special guest in the audience. Justin Levine's just joined us as well.
Oh, nice.
Good to see you, Justin. But the thing is, this has really just been announced as well. So you'll obviously, guys in the chat, you can ask any questions about what's not already out there. But this is really exciting because it's for anyone who wants to get involved as well. This is a first for them as well. I mean, you can't traditionally go out there and get an NFT on a film, or it's hard to get any sort of access.
We're the first ones. We are the first ones to do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, the part of the idea came to me because you guys had worked with Rob Pryor, who's a famous artist who did very well with an NFT campaign on his Marvel painting that he sold as an NFT. And when I saw that and I saw what Mogul was doing, I got very, very interested and curious to see what we could do together. And now we're talking about Mogul coming into finance through an NFT campaign and through crypto, our sequel to Reboot Camp. And how fitting, the sequel to Reboot Camp, for those of you who don't know the movie, by the way, it is a mockumentary, which means it's a comedic fictional documentary. That's Jack, by the way, who's barking. It's okay, Jack. We're okay.
That's why it's live. That's why it's live.
This is why it's live. This is, by the way, Jack, he was in The Mask in his youth. Okay, maybe not him exactly, but a dog who looked just like him. So we are a mockumentary, which means it's a comedic documentary. So in Reboot Camp, I play a character. I put on a character of a French-Canadian guru, and my brother, who's a documentarian, films this experience to see what's going to happen. And I open the Reboot Camp, which is a self-help camp to expand your mind and spirit. And we go, let's see what happens. And they talk like this with the French accent, and people just buy into it, and all these celebrities start coming, and then it turns into such a big thing we don't know how to shut it off. So that's what happens in the Reboot Camp. The follow-up, the NFT version, which is going to be the sequel, is the same characters, myself, who plays Seymour, and Kelly Price, who plays Danny, who's the documentarian, are going to go into the NFT world and the crypto world, and we're going to try and come up with the biggest NFT ever created in history. And there'll be a big contest, and it's going to be a lot like the formula in Best in Show. If you saw that movie, that all culminated in this big dog show. Yeah. Exactly, that contest. It's going to be the same kind of thing where it culminates in this final contest where all the big players, and we're going to have a lot of people from the crypto world, people who are famous for becoming wealthy on crypto and for the NFT campaigns that they've done. So it'll be the same format. We have real people playing themselves. We also have actors playing characters, and it should be very funny. So I'm very excited for that to be the follow-up, and it all just seems to fit with what we're doing right now, and that's why we're doing this NFT campaign.
Yeah, and I mean, guys, keep the questions. There's so many questions coming in. I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping up with them. I guess the most recent one, Justin is clueless on this new digital world. For anyone that's kind of wanting to get a bit of an idea about what is an NFT, I mean, I think if we break it down, guys, we've got David Lipper here. Good to see you in the chat, Lisa. Kendrick, also good to see you coming in. I think we've got 363 people in the chat, which is great to see already. So you can ask David any questions as we go. But if we break it down, like what is an NFT, non-fungible token? Basically, this is the digital version of what you're buying the original of. I'll quickly throw a snapshot for Justin, anyone out there. If you have the Mona Lisa, which is hanging on your wall, it's obviously, you could go out there and you could buy a replica and hang it on the wall as well, but it's just not the original. An NFT is giving you the original digital version of something that's a one of a kind. So think about, Lisa, welcome back, Dave. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Basically, think about it as you're getting the very first digital edition of something. But where I think it really benefits as well, David, is this can go in a whole range of things. It can go in music, like you said, with what we'll do with Reboot Camp. This is limited edition deleted scenes that you can't usually get. And I'm the same as you. I mean, I think this thing, as the last, 24 to 12 months, watching from Mogul's side, the big talent agents, UTA, all the guys, couple of Ford, these guys are starting to really dive into NFTs, but no one's actually been able to kind of really get through and get something happening. And that's where this event's going to be, groundbreaking and a lot of fun too.
Oh, it's going to be a great party, and we're going to have cocktails during the red carpet period. Then we're going to screen the movie, and then we're going to have a nice after party afterwards. So I hope you can make it, James. Is there any way you can fly in from Australia?
Fingers crossed. I think anywhere right now in the world is better than Australia with with 2.5 miles.
It's crazy, and you guys were like, you were like, we got no cases here, we got it easy, and then all of a sudden, it's like things changed. Yeah,
Yeah.
the crazy thing is that I made 4 movies and on to my 5th now since the pandemic started. That is the crazy thing. I don't know how that happened exactly, except that those of us in the independent world who are a little crazier than other filmmakers, and just kind of, we get our money together, we get our crew together, we get our key cast together, and we go and we shoot. So we don't have the system of a studio and bigger companies to hold us down. And so I guess that created a very open playing ground for me to make these films. So as you mentioned, Just Swipe, Legacy picked it up, and I'm assuming that's going to come out for a Valentine's Day release. I'll let you know when that happens. Deathlink, it was picked up by Gravitas and is going to be released November 30th. And that's the first movie under this new banner of mine, called Latigo Films. It's a partnership with myself and Bob Daly, who's the son of the former chairman of Warner Brothers, Bob Daly. And he and I are going to make a lot of movies together. And he's on with me on Wolf Mountain, as you mentioned. That's with Danny Trejo and Tobin Bell and the Latin pop star Malu Trevejo in her first film. So that's going to be exciting.
Congratulations, David. That's fantastic.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and a Christmas movie. I got a Christmas movie somehow I snuck in there too. Something I wrote about a decade ago that finally came together. Justin Levine, who's on here, is the executive producer and was instrumental in the financing side of that. And that should be out. That will be out Christmas, certainly on the CBC in Canada, and probably on networks all over the world.
Well, you make a really valid point, which is something I've got a couple of questions. If I can start with those. So many people coming in the chat. It's great to see. I even saw Deathlink movie actually popped in as well to say yes. So it's so good to see everybody here. I wanted to kind of just circle in on that a little bit, because let's take the last 12 months. COVID really put a lot of productions into halt. And you yourself, we talk anyway, but it's 5 or 6 movies in the last 12 months.
I'm on my 5th since COVID started. So Deathlink we shot in March of last year. And that was when this whole thing broke open. So, I didn't even know what was going on, because when you're in a movie, especially as a director, I don't have a life outside of this box. That's my movie. I'm living in the schedule. I'm living in the script. I'm living in my shot list. And that starts in prep. So you have a hard month of prep before that movie starts, not to mention a month of soft prep before that. So I didn't know what was going on. And it wasn't until the first day off, 5 days into shooting, that I saw the whole world was falling apart. And I said, oh my God, we're not going to make it. And that's when my brilliant first AD on this film was somebody you just interviewed, Elizabeth Blake Thomas. She is like a savant, and grabbed all the scenes that we had to shoot and started compiling, and we started saying what can go into this location and what can I delete from here, how do I knock off 2 days here. We knocked a week off the schedule, and we got the movie finished just as the lockdown was starting. So
And what's your
it was almost like a little miracle.
see? Because what I think that the thing that really interests me is that's a great guard dog you've got there, David.
Yes.
Um, I think the really interesting thing is a lot of filmmakers kind of were waiting for COVID to end, and then we're going to pull the trigger and go, hey, now we're going to film, or now we're going to access the budget. Um, what's your advice then for filmmakers that are kind of working through, let's say, a pandemic or just some huge obstacle just to get it finished?
Well, my advice is you never stop. You have to live, eat, and breathe this thing like it's like they're your children. I don't have any children, so for me, that works. If you have children, then they're second children. I don't know, but
They have children.
for me, these movies are my children. They are they're everything to me, and so I don't have a life outside of these films. I don't have a normal job that I shut the phone off and I go have dinner and then, have family time. This goes until I can't keep my eyes open, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up and it starts again. And I think it takes that kind of dedication and work ethic to make a movie in this budget range in the independent world. It's just so hard. And you got to wear 10 hats, and you got to be problem solving all the time because there are constantly things that pop up. And so COVID was just another thing. It was just another problem to solve. Okay, COVID. Okay, we have to test people. How do I do that? Okay, well, I live in LA. We have free testing. We can schedule everybody to get a free test right before the first day of shooting, so that negative test comes in before they get to the set. And then we'll schedule one on the day off that knocks off 2 tests. I can save money there. Then I call in favors. Then I actually, a friend of mine, I gave her this business of creating a company that does SAG-approved COVID testing on sets. So she gave me a very good deal because I kind of handed her this business, and I said, listen, this is going to be a huge business for movies. I suggest you jump into this. You learn how to do mobile testing. And she did, and so that's the kind of stuff that is going to come back as a filmmaker, as a producer. When you start to look ahead and problem solve before the problems even happen and start to help people get themselves going, those people will come back and help you. They owe you a favor. Yeah. And I have a lot of people over the years who I've been very good to, who've come back to help me. And that's, I don't want to keep making movies this way. I mean, I'd much rather have a much larger budget to work with, where I don't have to call in favors. And that is what's happening in my next slate of films. And even the Reboot Camp sequel, we're going to have a lot more money. So it's going to get a little easier. But for this crop of films, in order to go and just get it done, if you're a young filmmaker and you want to get your feet wet and go make a movie, go make a movie. Whether it's 20,000, 100,000, 200,000, or $1 million, it's the same process. It's just less people that you can pay and less things that you can buy or rent.
Yeah, and two things come up there, and then I'll jump to your question, Samos. You said wear about 8 different hats. And I think that's the other thing, in indie filmmaking, you've got to wear more than one hat. And the other thing is, we had a recent guest on here, Bin Dang, and he sort of said a lot of filmmakers kind of always looking at the other side saying, oh, well, this person got 10 million or this person got 30 million. I've only got 50,000 to make my first film. And his attitude was, I should be thrilled. I've got $50,000 to make my first film because you actually have something. You can actually make something and then work your way up to like 30 million.
Absolutely can. It's just you're just more limited. But I've made movies for a couple $100,000, and I've made movies for millions. You give you what's dealt. But I'll tell you, the Christmas movie I just shot, we had little under 1.5 million to make, somewhere between 1 and 1.5, and it was a lot harder than movies I've made for less than half of that,
And
because
what
there's
was the
so many.
reason for that?
As soon as you get into union crews, that's already you're getting into a lot more restrictions. As soon as you're dealing with a location shoot in a small town, you're dealing with that where you don't have access to stuff. What I love about shooting in LA is it's so easy for me to pull cast for a day. For me to call up Danny Trejo and say, I need you for a day. If he's not doing something, I got him for a day. For me to call Ed Begley Jr., let's go to Reboot Camp. I say, I need you for a day. He comes for a day. For me to call Keckner, he comes for a day. I mean, these are people I picked up the phone and I called and said, I need you to come for a day. Some of them 2 days, some of them 3 days. But because they live in LA, and we shot this at Frank Sinatra's estate in Woodland Hills, it was easy. It was like, oh, you're just shooting over there? Oh, it's a 20-minute drive for me? Oh, okay, I'll come do that. So it's a lot easier to do that than to say, hey, do you mind hopping on 3 planes? It's going to take you a day to travel. You have
Yeah,
to leave your family for
away from your family.
a
Yeah.
week just to shoot for 2 or 3 days because of the travel time back and forth. What do you think about that idea? Not so much.
It's not going to fly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's it's
so
it's it's such an interesting concept because I know that. And Justin, if you're still on the chat, I remember you said this to me like years ago when you did the Life Happens with Kate Bosworth. I said, what's the real allure for like actresses like Rachel Bilson and Kate Bosworth to do the movie? And Justin said, listen, they can go and have their dinner at home every night and come to set for 2 weeks. Otherwise, if you try and get them to fly to Atlanta, even if it's more money, it's not the same bed, it's not the
right.
same place, it's not their house, it's
Plus, you
not
got to
their
fly
dog.
them. Plus, you got to per diem them. Plus, you got to put them in a hotel. So you got to look at what that free money is costing you. And the free money comes with a price, not to mention the bank fees or the loan fees that are even higher when it's private equity, the legal fees and putting the documents together. There's a lot of cost that comes with the free money.
Yeah.
So you can't just add in the tax credits or the grants or the rebates. You have to look at the whole picture. And when the budgets are smaller, it doesn't really pay. When the budgets get bigger, it certainly makes a lot more sense. For what we did on the Christmas film, which what I did with Justin, that was the perfect sweet spot. You want to come in right around 1.5 million Canadian for that deal because we had the North Ontario Heritage Fund grant, which gives you $500,000 against $1 million spend. So for that to monetize, you want to hit that million spend in the north, and then you're going to need about another $500,000 of expenditures that are outside of the north. And when I say the north, northern Ontario. So that's how that worked. But Reboot Camp, we shot in LA. We had no tax credits. We had no incentives. And it was made for less money, and it was a much easier shoot. We had a brilliant cinematographer in Derek Cohen. I mean, he did a tremendous job.
I
I
remember
can't.
we, I remember I asked you about him before as well because there's a shot with him in I think it's on IMDb with like a big Ari on his shoulder, just basically like
We shot
the
with the
shots are
Reds.
beautiful.
Yeah, he shot with the Red camera, which is not
Oh,
a
red,
light.
sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't a light camera, and he had one of those easy rigs that it was sitting on. So that's the straps you see around him, which a lot of the camera guys like these days. It's not quite a steady cam, so there's still movement, but it's a lot smoother than handheld on the shoulder. But the main thing is like we had so much improv in this movie, and that's really what you need to nail in a mockumentary. Stuff like The Office is a little more. It's going to be mostly scripted, and shot in mockumentary style. But the movies that I grew up on loving, all the Christopher Guest stuff from Spinal Tap to Best in Show to Waiting for Guffman, Mighty Wind, all those things. There's a certain level of improv that goes in there. So when Evo showed me his script, which by the way was an unbelievable script that he wrote, we talked about it coming in a little short, under at 80 pages or less, so that we'd have this room to do improv. And what's amazing is Derek, the cinematographer, he didn't know what was happening because it was happening as it was happening.
It's
Like
improv, yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm, I'm interviewing Jarul and Keckner, and I don't know what they're going to say. I don't even know what I'm going to say. Like, it's just, we just start a session, and he's zooming in and zooming out, like at the perfect times. Like, Jarul is all of a sudden having a thought, and he zooms in, and then he zooms out. And it's just like his instincts to pick that up. That's a whole art in itself. You don't have a guy who's on the ball, who's alert, who's listening. I mean, the camera's a character in these movies. So I got to give him a tremendous amount of credit. But of course, the captain of the ship, Ivo Raza, I mean, what he pulled off, it's unbelievable. This was super ambitious. Like I said, a limited budget. He came over here. He moved into my house. He just had faith in me that that I would pull off my end of this, and I had faith in him. And somehow this collaboration turned into this beautiful thing. He just did a tremendous job directing this movie. I just can't sing his praises enough. His instincts for making sure that nobody pushed it, making sure that, because it's so easy to get shticky when you get into this genre, and he was super, super diligent to make sure that when that happened, he'd bring them down. Play it real, play it real, play it real, so that we don't know, is this real or is this not real? And I didn't even know half the time. I started believing my own bullshit when it came to the sessions. I'm like, I think I'm healing. I think I just healed Jarul. I think I just helped him. I did angry yoga, and he seemed to get it out.
I'm really excited to hear, because I've actually got a couple of questions. I'm going to single straight back to this thought with Evo in just about 3 minutes, David, because I've got leading in what you're saying, I've got a tagline of about 3 or 4 different questions. Quickly, Samosas writes, because you've had this question up for a little while. This is to you, David. How do you assess fan desire? How do you assess fan desire for a proposed movie? How do you assess fan desire for a proposed movie?
Not sure I understand the question. How do I, like, in terms of an idea for a movie?
You know what? We'll put this to Samosa. We'll say, hey, can you reiterate the question for David and I? I think maybe what he. Well, I don't want to. I'll wait to see what Samosa said. So if you're listening, Samosa 528.
Give us a follow up on that.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay. So,
but I will say this. I will say this on that. While you hold the next question, one of the things I'm excited about with this NFT drop for Reboot Camp is I want the crypto world to get involved with this sequel. So it's like, we're not just talking about the auction of these deleted scenes for Reboot Camp. We're talking about stepping it up to be involved in the sequel, that Danny and Seymour end up in the crypto NFT world. And I think that may be really exciting for this community, this Mogul community, that's already immersed in the crypto and NFT world, to say, oh my God, we're gonna have a movie that actually speaks to us, that actually is about the very thing that we're involved in. And I don't think anybody's done that yet.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting story to put in any movie, because it's not like it's been done before, where you just basically same horse, different jockey. It's basically where putting that I guess NFTs, crypto, blockchain, this space, it's a new storyline to put in there for people to start learning. Just really quickly, a couple of comments, David. I'll throw this one to you. Justin, yep, still here. You were totally correct, James. Thank you, Justin. Endorse Management Group, Impro Baby, I'm moving into your house this weekend. Put me in your movies. David?
Nobody's moving in my house now. Those days are over.
Then endorsements, I started to believe my own BS. Amazing line. Okay, so we've got we've got a clarification with Samos 528. How do you gauge interest in a proposed movie idea?
Oh, I see what the question is. Well,
good question, Samos.
Honestly, I go off my own interest. This, first of all, Reboot Camp was something that Evo had been massaging for years. This is an idea that he had been toying with, that interested him. It was a subject matter that interested him. Look, the self-help industry is a $1 trillion industry. Okay, this is obviously something that speaks to everybody. Everybody at some point needs to do some soul searching, needs to do some self-evaluation. There's a lot of people in therapy. There's a lot of people dealing with emotional trauma, mental trauma. Um, so this is something that's super topical. And so he wanted to infiltrate that world in a comical way, but at the same time, like a good satire, hit on some very real things that are going on. And that's really all we can do as filmmakers. So when I come up with an idea, such as the Christmas movie that I wrote, I come up with a theme. And some of the great writing teachers like McKee, who's got a great book called Story, I recommend to any young writers out there who want a good book on screenwriting. He says you start with the theme, you start with the moral, you start with the lesson that you want somebody to learn. And then you go from there and you sculpt it around a hero who goes through this journey and learns the lesson. And ultimately, that's what we got to do as filmmakers. So what is the lesson you want to teach? What is the story you want to tell? That's what I do. If I think about what does the audience want to see or what does the audience want to hear, I think I'm going to be in the wrong zone, because you can never please everybody. You can always please somebody if you're true to yourself and you're doing something that's honest and important to you. And so that's what I focus on. I find stories that are important to me. Even Deathlink. Deathlink is a morality tale about the dangers of social media. And it's something that's been on my mind, which is what are the effects of a world where we're stuck on our phones and we're on social media all day long? What is that doing to our kids? And what is happening in our high schools today? And what's going on where kids are becoming influencers at 15, 16, 17? They're making money. They think they're running the world. And it all happens in this movie. And I go through this journey with this girl who becomes one of these influencers, the lead girl, and eventually has to learn a horrifying lesson. Because a good horror movie, to me, is a good morality tale. So whatever the movie is, horror, comedy, doesn't matter. There's always a theme, there's always a lesson. And if you want to be a great filmmaker, you tell the lesson that's important to you, maybe something you've gone through that you want to get out of your system in this way. That's the best way I can explain and define art. That is the most true and honest art form. We take our shit and we express it through the medium.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think what you really hit on the head there as well, David, is basically your own choices. You know, if you're doing something like when you talked about, you know, if you're being true to yourself, you know, you will impress one person. You know, if you're doing it for
Right.
the right reasons for yourself rather than just trying to please everybody. A couple of quick comments coming in. I'll quickly run through these. And then I've got some questions on Reboot Camp, which is going to segue back into the exciting announcement. For anyone that's just joined us, David Lipper, writer, director, actor. You would have seen him on so many different things. Again, I could
Too
be
many
here
things.
for 66 titles. But you can ask David anything you like. But the big announcement, Mogul getting involved now, Reboot Camp, the very funny comedy movie, starting on the 16th of September. NFT event. It's going to be in Hollywood. And the great thing about this as well is you guys can come on the ride as well as this NFT is really starting to build a huge momentum in Hollywood, but also your opportunity to get up close and personal with the cast and crew, including David. Endorsement group, management group has said it's all about what markets are looking for at a given time, or to be so unique that execs love the idea. Great comment there. Great info. David
Thank
Lipper
you, Michael.
David Lipper follows his dream and creative ideas, interesting and funny ideas from Lipper. Justin, my new lesson is to fly on a G5, not on Air Canada. That's good advice too, Justin. Lipper is all about being unique and different, true believer. Yeah, and I think absolutely. I segueing back quickly into Reboot Camp because I can see more and more people are coming into the chat.
And by the way, just in case you haven't seen Reboot Camp and want to know where can you see it, it's on all the platforms right now. So that's iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, all these what they call the TVOD VODs, the ticketed VODs. So like your pay-per-views, your rentals, your purchases. It's available on all those platforms right now. Fandango. Comcast, DirecTV, etc. And then in the UK, we're on Sky Channel. We actually did a very nice deal with Sky Channel, who I think has it for the next 2 years.
That's great. We do have people over in the UK, so definitely anyone who rewatches this interview as well. Just a quick question on Reboot Camp, because with Mogul obviously coming in partnership with this great NFT event, we'll be speaking to some of the other cast and crew on the actual movie. I just wondered, David, if I throw some names out there, you could kind of give the audience a little bit of a segue or perhaps a bit of a story about what they're like to work with on set.
Sure.
Starting off with Nicole Aniston.
Nicole was fantastic. Okay, so you never know. I mean, for me, I don't have experience in working with adult film stars. This was a new one, but we wanted there to be a total motley crew of celebrities who come to this reboot camp for self-help. So everything from reality stars, we had Johnny Bananas from MTV's The Challenge, we had Corinne Olympios from The Bachelor, and then Billy Morrison, who plays with Billy Idol, the punk rocker, playing himself. And so we wanted to have this diverse group of different kinds of celebrities, and so why not an adult film star? And it worked great because there was this whole section about being reborn, about going through this vagina slide, and so it just made sense to have an adult film star that this would be modeled after. And so Kelly Price, who is one of the leads in the film and also a co-producer on this, he reached out to her and she said she wanted to do it. And she was fantastic. First of all, lovely person. Also a good actor. I mean, she did a great job. So she is somebody that I'm pleasantly surprised at how good she was, and somebody who will be back for sure in the sequel. Somebody I'm excited to see at the live event on the 21st. And I think somebody is going to be a very happy auction winner when he gets that Nicole Aniston vagina NFT signed by her from the movie.
There's a whole, yeah, I think we're really mixing up what's of NFTs we're going to option here for anyone's tastes and ideas as well.
Yeah,
That's really interesting with Nicole. Let's talk a little bit about the director, Evo. And he's a great guy. I've spoken to him before, but you
amazing
mentioned
guy.
he basically really had this, he did something very ambitious and he pulled it off. What sort of a director is he? And is there any great stories you can share working with him?
Well, first of all, he is a technically sound director who didn't just direct, okay? He also wrote it, and he also edited the film. And my good friend George Folsey Jr., who is, in my opinion, one of the greatest editors of all time. He did Animal House, he did Blues Brothers, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, so some of the great comedies, on top of some great horror films like American Werewolf in London. He was John Landis's partner in all these things. He looked at it and he said, this guy did a great job. Great
That's
editing
great.
job. So I think, Evo may not give himself enough credit as an editor, but he did a fantastic job editing this. And this took a long time. Him and I have been together like this from pre-production to today. I consider him one of my closest friends right now. And that's because of this process, this mutual respect of two guys that are willing to work all hours of every day to get it right. And, the back and forth, he'd send me a cut, I'd give him some notes, he'd send it back, I'd give him my opinion, he'd make some changes. This edit went on for a long time. This is like a year, this process. So we really, really, really made sure that we got it right. And I give him all the credit in the world that he wouldn't settle for any one scene until it was right. And all the power to him. There's stuff that is on that cutting room floor. It makes me physically ill that scene's not in the movie. Like there's a scene with Lindsay Shaw and myself where I'm working with her on a one-on-one session where I'm trying to get her over her gum chewing addiction. And it is so bloody funny. And I'm just like, how can that scene not be in the movie? And he was like, David, it's like losing a child. It's killing me. But it just, we had to lose it. And he was so disciplined in if it's not pushing the story forward. And, we have a lot of funny scenes in there. We just had to let some go. It's rare that you see this with a comedy, that hysterical scenes don't make the film.
Yeah. Oh,
You don't
It's
have
gut
enough of
wrenching
those.
though. It's gut wrenching even
Gut
as you're
wrenching.
talking about it because it's
Gut
almost
wrenching.
like
Yeah.
it's too good not to show people.
And thank God they're living on social media and other platforms where we're going to show these deleted scenes. And then, of course, the one of a kind clips for the NFT drop that we're not showing to the only person that's going to have these NFT drops are the people who buy them. So they'll literally be the only people in the world with these clips. So it's not even like you were talking about that example of a copy of the Mona Lisa that's a digital copy. This is literally the only digital copy of something that's digital to begin with, which is a film. That's what these 4K movies are. They're digital files that somebody will own, and it'll be the only one.
Yeah. So guys, and again, if anyone wants more information, mogulproductions.com. Um, another one of your co-stars, Jess Belkin. We'll be talking with her coming up. For the audience who doesn't know who she is or what sort of person she's like, what can you describe Jess as?
Absolutely stunning, knockout, blonde teenager, almost done with being a teenager. She's 19 now, but she is not only beautiful, but a beautiful person who I've gotten to know and consider her and her family close friends of mine now, but also a really good actor. And the funny thing is that relationship started a couple of years ago when I did a film called Sleeping with My Student, which is a classic, Lifetime film, where she played my daughter. And I just thought she was great, and I connected with her dad, who was there because she was 16 at the time, I think. And we just stayed in contact, and I said, listen, I've got films coming, and I'll have something for her. And they're like, great, we'd love to work with you. And that's what happened. And I put her in Reboot Camp. I put her in Deathlink. She's really, one of the top leads in Deathlink. And I plan on putting her in several other movies. So we've done 3 movies together already in
That's
a very
great.
short time. And she's also, what was great about her for Deathlink, because it's about these influencers, is I wanted actors that also were influencers, that had big
I think we,
TikTok especially. She's got millions of followers on TikTok, and probably close to 1 million now on her Instagram. So that's what I needed for those characters. He's got 1 million followers.
David, we got you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we got
I'm
you
back.
back. We got you back. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was trying to call. Matt Rife has got 250,000 followers on his Instagram. He's in the film. So all these people that I cast were people with big followings. But Jessica, like I said, not just an influencer, not just a pretty face, actually a very talented actor. So
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've probably got about 5 or 10 more minutes before we can go. So, guys, just as David's doing a tour of his house at the moment, which is great, David. We love the live aspect
Just
of
went to
this.
get
So,
some water.
if you want to point anything out
You
as
want to see
well,
the pool? Here, I'll give you
this
a
is
tour.
exciting for us.
Here's the pool.
The gazebo. I love the gazebo in there.
There we go. Okay,
Um,
that's the tour.
Again, Justin, I'm just quickly reading some comments too. Justin, I don't understand it, but for you, I'll buy it. Thanks, Justin. We're looking for you to start the NFT auction. Duly funny, David. That's my guy. Not wrong there. What about Jarul? Can you give us your best story working with Jarul on set?
I love Jarul. Let me just tell you, I love this guy. This guy comes in, ball of energy, a big pack of joints. He's just lit up in the scene. He was just cool, man. He was just cool. He just came right in. Him and Keckner had this chemistry right off the bat. I wish we could show the whole hour that we filmed them, because there was so much good stuff in there. He was really the biggest shock of the whole cast to me, because, I know he's a rapper, and I know he's been in some films, and I know he's a personality, but I really wasn't expecting him to be that funny. I mean, and he was hysterical in this movie. I think him and Keckner really stole the show with their session together. So I'm very excited that he's part of this NFT campaign. and somebody out there is going to get Ja Rule's goo rules that he created in this NFT clip and this deleted scene.
I
Again,
think it's going to go well. I think that one. I think the bidding's going to go well because
I
it's
think
again.
so too. I think they're all going to do well, but I think someone's going to be very happy with a funny bit from Keckner. Ja Rule, I think Nicole Aniston, I think is probably, she could be the biggest of all of them with that vagina. Nobody's ever NFT'd a vagina before, folks. This is it. This is the first one.
So your money's on Nicole Aniston's.
My money's on Nicole because at the end of the day, sex sells. Let's be honest. And that's just it's a big NFT. I mean, literally, the thing is huge. So yeah, that's what my money's on. But she's like, I can't wait for you to interview her. She's great. Jessica is like my own daughter. I absolutely love her. Chaz Bono. Oh, we've got
him coming up as well.
He's another good friend, and what he's been through in his life, and how he's come through that and the other side is an amazing story of perseverance. He's a lovely guy, another good friend of mine, and someone I'm excited for you to speak to. I think he also brings another diverse angle to this that I think somebody out there is going to be extremely excited with his NFT clip. And really, there's also the painting, by the way, that we're auctioning. If you've seen the movie, there's a scene where they paint me, where I'm starting to get high on my own supply, and getting drunk with power here as the guru. And in fact, I'm going to show you that painting because it's hanging on my wall.
This is a lot, by the way,
this will be a one-of-a-kind NFT of this painting. There it is. There you have it.
There we go.
James? Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Let's hold on, if we can, Dave. Let's hold this for a moment. Yeah, that's great.
And if you want to see it in context, the size of this thing, it's pretty friggin' big. Yeah, that's me. So you'll get the clip from that in the movie, and then you'll see the.
Hey, David.
So that's also one of the items that we're auctioning off.
That's fantastic. I mean, again, for anyone that's just joined us, more and more people are coming into the chat. Really excited, Mogul NFT Reboot Camp collaboration, one of a kind, first of its kind. We're almost out of time with David. Alyssa Mummy 915 writes, David, this question came in. Just watch Swearing Allegiance.
Oh, great. Love that movie. That's a true story.
Yeah. Alyssa, any comments? Anything you want to add with
Swearing Allegiance was a true story where I was. This is back when I was playing high school. It's just a few years ago. Where I cheated on my girlfriend, and she made me kill the girl I cheated on her with. She said, "I will stay with you, but you have to kill the bitch." And like a good boyfriend, I did. And then they got away with it, and then bragged about it, and they finally got caught because they couldn't keep their mouths shut. So that is a crazy true story that back in those days, it wasn't even Lifetime. It was an NBC movie back when the networks used to make these big movies for several $1 million. So that was a good one. Good movie.
Yeah. Alyssa, feel free to, out of 10, if you're still in the chat, feel free to tell us what you rated out of 10. I think David wants 10, but 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Let us know. 2 more questions, David. Then I'll let you go. Again, this has been a fantastic chat, and for anyone, you can watch this. We'll put it up on Instagram straight after we finish the interview with David. There's just some really good sound.
Hi, Custine. I see you.
Just asking for advice for actors in Hollywood. You've worked studio TV, studio films. You're directing. Minx Coco. I hope I got that right.
Tina.
Minx and Coco. That's a classic movie. What's your best advice right now? Hollywood's changed a lot. What advice would you give?
My friend Sean Levy, who's doing pretty darn well right now, he's producing Stranger Things. He just directed. Nice guy with Ryan Reynolds. He always said to me, work gets work. Just keep working, keep working, keep working. And that's probably some of the best advice anyone's ever given me. That's why I just keep going. I keep making movies. I get the ego out of the way. Like this idea, I only do $10 million movies. Let me know how that works out for you. I just keep making them and keep trying to make the ones I want to make. You learn to do other things. I mean, I didn't know how to produce. I didn't know how to direct. I didn't know any of this stuff. I just learned. And so we live in this unbelievable time like never before, where you can even take your phone and shoot something in 4K, for God's sakes. We live in an age where you have a lot of people that can be connected via Zoom, via FaceTime. Start connecting, start forming groups, start finding 2 or 3 people that want to work with you, and go shoot something. And then you'll get better, and then shoot something else. And it's a practice like any other trade. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep practicing. You're going to get better. You're going to get better. And eventually you're going to hit something. And that's my advice. Don't ever sit around the phone waiting for somebody else to get this for you. That's never going to happen. And for the people that it does happen to, they're far and few between. You got to go out there and make it happen yourself. And if you have that kind of gumption and you have that will and you keep pushing forward, things are going to happen.
That's amazing advice. Work gets work. I think it sounds so simple,
work.
but it's so true.
Yeah.
That's been, I guess if anyone wants a soundbite, I definitely, if you have to listen to one thing, I think that's one of the best piece of advice I've heard in a long time, because it's so true. And also momentum, I mean, an object in motion stays in motion. Object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. It's very simple, but it's true. I mean, if you're just sitting, you can't really expect much to happen. My very last question before we go, and again, it's been a terrific chat. Mogul NFT launch, Reboot Camp. What is your best day shooting on set of Reboot Camp?
Oh, that is a tough question because there were so many bloody good days. It was the most fun I've ever had of any movie. Any of the improvs were fun. But at the end of the day, I got to give it to the Jarul Keckner session. When Jarul started singing in the middle of that, I mean, that I don't know how I didn't break character and start laughing and stuff, because the stuff that came out in that session was just as good as it gets for me, and in the comedy world and in the film world. So that day, and it was a big day because we shot the party scene on that day too. That session with Jarul and Keckner was a real thrill, and Ed Begley Jr. Getting to work with him was like,
we didn't even get a chance to talk about him. Yeah, just another one of the legends.
So good.
Yeah,
and he does nothing. He's like, that's it. He's just been like deadpan. He just looks so unhappy to be here. It's just like, I'm just here because of my wife, and it's just like, and he plays it so real, and he's funny, and he never tries to be funny.
You know what I think? For anyone that hasn't seen it, I think it's good as well. Right now, with obviously the situation, and anyone just wants a good laugh, just wants to kind of get out there and experience a really funny film, I'd really recommend it. And also in the idea that if you do watch it, come up with any questions. David is the first of our guests coming up between the NFT launch, which is going to be our next guest. I think it's we've got Chaz coming up, we've got Evo coming up. I think that's the cue. We've gone too long. That's the get off the stage music.
They're like, walk me, Dad, walk me.
Yeah. So guys, watch the film. Any questions? I want to say it's been a real pleasure having you. Alyssa, great to have you in the chat. Mim and Coco, Justin, it's always great to have you in the chat. And everyone else. And again, David, it's been a real pleasure. You're very inspiring. You get the job done. And this NFT thing is the first of many things. We're excited to work with you.
I'm thrilled to be a part of this whole Mogul family right now. I'm thrilled for this NFT campaign. I hope you all go out there and bid, and some of you here get to win some of these auctions. And then I'll see you at the live event where we screen the movie on the 21st at the Outdoor Cine Lounge. Very excited.
Going to be very exciting, guys. David, I will talk to you soon. We'd love to get you back anyway, especially
anytime, James.
To the event. And guys, we will see you I think it's on Saturday. We'll see you on Saturday with our next Mogul Live. Great to have you, David. Talk soon, guys.
All right, brother. Be good.
Bye.